to another video where we're gonna conclude your confuse. And today we're concluding Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil is a movie based in 1977 about a struggling comedian and late night talk show host, Jack Delroy, played by David Dastmalchian, who is desperately trying to strike a deal with the devil. The film is introduced as a documentary which investigates the events that unfold live on late-night TV show Night Owls with Jack Delroy on Halloween night 1977.
Jack Delroy and Night Owls made an attempt to showcase odd and interesting guests and competed with talk show hosts like Johnny Carson. We initially see Jack making regular visits to The Grove, a California camp for rich and powerful men who seemingly partake in satanic rituals.
Jack was always supported by his wife, Madeline, until she tragically became ill and passed away due to lung cancer. It's important to note that she was a non-smoker. With Madeline's death having a huge impact on Jack's mental health, Night Owl's production is halted until Jack decides to return. Yet the show seems to still suffer in ratings, and Jack struggles with the reality of losing everything.
In an effort to boost ratings, Jack decides to do a special occult-themed episode on Halloween, inviting special guests to interview for various supernatural segments. The first guest introduced is Christo, a self-proclaimed psychic and medium. He demonstrates his gifts by performing readings for audience members, only for most of his readings to turn out incorrect.
He's not really good.
I think he was just calling out random names until somebody in the audience took bait.
Yeah.
And I think they even planted a guy in the audience.
Christo didn't want to look like this thing was fake because he also had tours coming up. So he kind of, he does some fake gifts. Before Christo's segment is over, he seemingly experienced a premonition. He goes crazy and he says, "Someone named Minnie is calling here." Jack quickly cuts to commercial and tells his producer, Leo Fisk, that Minnie is actually a private name for his late wife, Minnie. They continue talking.
For his late wife, Madeline.
Oh, shoot. Minnie is a private nickname for his late wife, Madeline. Leo and Jack continue talking, and Christo is like, he's sweating. After Christo, there's a new guest, Carmichael Haig, or Carmichael the Conjurer. Ooh. He's a skeptic, but he's also a former magician. His whole goal is to disprove any magical stuff and what Christo is also doing. He's telling the audience that anything they see is just an illusion.
Jack steps in to correct Carmichael and tells everyone that Minnie is actually the pet name for his late wife, sorta to disprove Carmichael and not make Christo look so bad. But this doesn't stop Carmichael from continuing his arguments with Christo, which ends in Christo projectile vomiting black bile all over the studio.
It's like Venom stuff.
And then he's rushed to the hospital as the show cuts to its next break.
Everyone's kind of freaked out.
And in the next segment, and I guess the final guest introduced for the night, are June Ross Mitchell, a parapsychologist author, and 13-year-old Lily Diabo, which is June's most recent subject and sole survivor of a mass suicide committed by a satanic church that worships a demon or entity called Abraxas.
It should be noted that the leader of that cult was also Lily's dad. Lily comes on the show and she claims she has a friend named Mr. Wriggles, which is kind of scary, that comes and visits her, as she says. Carmichael assumes that June and Lily are just phonies, so during a commercial break, Jack convinces June backstage to conduct a seance. He wants Mr. Wriggles to join them. During that same break, Jack is also told that Christo has died. Jack promptly tells Leo not to let anyone know or they're going to freak their pants out.
So after the break, the seance begins and Mr. Wriggles basically takes over Lily's body, changing her appearance and making her voice and appearance both more demonic and sinister. And Lily, obviously being possessed, then levitates in her chair and causes the electricity in the studio to malfunction. In this demonic state, she taunts Jack Jack and accuses him of having an affair with her acquaintance June, and finally mentions that they have met before by the tall trees, suggesting that his visits to the Grove, as we mentioned before, were not as innocent as he made them out to be.
Lily at this point isn't looking like a normal chick. She's like, her face is
Think Exorcist.
pretty much like The
scratches
Exorcist.
and her hair is all crazy.
And she's talking all vulgar, kind of like
Yeah.
Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, like the Evil
People
Dead.
in Evil Dead.
Shout out Evil Dead.
After all this, June quickly attempts to remediate the situation and ends the whole seance. Then, after that following break, Carmichael challenges the preceding segment of the whole seance in Mr. Wriggles and calls upon Jack's show partner, Gus McConnell, for a demonstration of his very own trick.
Carmichael pulls out a pocket watch and attempts to hypnotize Gus. And we watch the scene unfold from the audience's point of view, so the viewers at home. To the audience, and even the studio audience, it seems as though Gus feels worms inside of his gut, and he begins to graphically sort of rip open his stomach to find these worms squirming out of him. It's super graphic.
It's pretty nasty. It's like, what's that one? Where that alien comes out of the stomach, but this is more graphic than that.
Yeah.
Way more graphic.
And then right before that, a huge worm just bursts through Gus's head. Carmichael snaps his fingers. Gus doesn't seem to break from his trance, so he starts repeating the phrase, "Dreamer, here, awake." Suddenly, Gus appears untouched and totally normal. So Jack prompts the production team to rewind the footage to kind of see what actually happened. This proves that the demonstration was merely a shared hallucination by everyone in the studio, with Gus just believing he was filled with worms.
When all the worms were coming out of his belly and stuff, he actually took his shirt off and there was nothing happening.
Yeah, in the rewinded
tricked
footage, you kind of just see Gus, he's just like clawing at his stomach with the shirt off. But really, Carmichael is just controlling the whole thing with very persuasive wording.
And I will say, he kind of proved his point because it was very real and it did trick a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So, kind of like us, Jack then decides to rewind the footage from the seance, and this time he confirms that the possession did happen. It showed in the video of Lily floating in the air, looking all crazy and stuff, and everyone also experienced that. After a brief flash in the slowed down footage, Jack is horrified to see a frightening image of Madeline's spirit appearing next to him on the tape. However, the moment is cut short by Carmichael accusing Jack of orchestrating an elaborate hoax. He thinks he did all this just for like views, clout.
Especially
clicks.
since his wife recently died and he knew the views were plummeting. And apparently it was that week in TV broadcasting where they were all competing for ratings and views
Yeah.
and whoever would have their season continued. So obviously Carmichael, the skeptic, would accuse Jack of something like that.
And Carmichael actually wanted to join this Grove cult.
Yeah.
Kind of asking Jack about it the whole time.
He seems like weirdly into the demonic stuff, even
He's a weird
though
old
he
man.
kind of is a skeptic as well. Lily, after all this, quickly becomes possessed again and begins to wreak havoc on the studio. In this very graphic scene, maybe we can insert an image to show you what it actually looks like, but a bolt of electricity from the ceiling connects to her left hand, and then a bolt of electricity from a nearby TV monitor connects to her right hand. She kind of gets pulled apart from both sides, and her head splits open and begins to glow with like a bright light. It looks really weird, like almost like a TV sort of projection coming from her brain. It was really strange.
It was like her brain was on fire
Yeah.
and it split open.
And if I'm
It's
not
kinda
wrong, I think we get like kind of pulled into it from like the audience's point of view.
Yes.
They kind of show these random images that are coming from her head. It's really weird.
The first thing this new demonic Lily does is uses her power to throw Jack forcefully onto a wall. After that, each guest faces their own untimely fate. Possessed Lily twists Gus's head 180 degrees. That was kind of funny because when Carmichael did the whole trick with Gus asked him if he was gonna spin his head.
Yeah.
So
It was a play on words.
yeah, poor Gus. Carmichael is burned to death, but before he dies, he's pleading to Lily like, "Oh, I want to join the cult. I love the Satan."
Yeah,
Being a
when he
groupie.
actually sees like the possessed Lily and that the demonic stuff is not an illusion,
He believes
then
yeah.
starts believing in it and almost wants to be a follower.
Yeah, but He doesn't. He gets burnt to death.
Yeah, he got burned to death.
It's pretty graphic.
There's probably another symbolism behind that, similar to how like Gus's head got spun around. I think Carmichael,
Yeah.
he was not a believer in the first place, so he probably got vanished
Sent
to hell.
hell.
Yeah.
Jinx. June actually, she believed in Jesus. When she wanted to end the seance, she used God and her cross around her neck. What ends up happening is Lily lifts June by her necklace up, and it like burns it into her neck, decapitating her. It was kind of nasty. In all of this, Jack is kind of like thrown in the wall, so he doesn't get killed. He passes out. When he wakes up, finds himself experiencing this nightmarish version of the show. He relives the moments in the show's past, and it's revealed Jack has a connection with the demon possessing Lily, encountering it during the ceremony at the Grove, where he made the deal with the devil and Lily's father.
That's sort of the climax of the movie where it's finally revealed. I mean, it was hinted at the whole time, but it's finally revealed that Jack actually sacrificed his wife in exchange for fame and success of Night Owls, therefore being responsible for Madeline's cancer. Basically, in order to get all the fame and success and ratings on his show, he kind of threw his wife under the bus. I don't know if he knew he was doing this, if it was part of the deal, or if they just kind of mentioned that, like, you know, you have to pay your dues. That's sort of like, I guess, deal with the devil sometimes is not clear. I'm not sure if they showed that in
It
the
ran
movie.
out.
Yeah.
It only lasted for like a year. I think he was really famous for like 1 year.
Yeah.
But he never passed Johnny Carson, so maybe Johnny Carson had more of his family killed. That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like.
That's why they say, like, don't make a deal with the devil, because he just comes back and
You
gets
know
whatever
the
he
terms and
wants.
condition, guys. In the next scene, Jack is visiting a bedridden and dying Madeline, who tells him that she knows he did all this, made this deal with the devil, and begs him to put her out of her misery. Jack spots a dagger on the nightstand and sticks it into her stomach.
Jack snaps out of it, and the scene suddenly shifts back to the now empty studio, where a horrified Jack realizes he has actually stabbed and killed Lily.
Gotcha, bitch.
So Jack stands over the massacre on his set, and he hears police sirens approaching in the background, but he's standing there in total shock, repeating the phrase, "Dreamer here, awake." What we got from that is basically he thinks this is another one of Carmichael's illusions. He doesn't think this is a real happening event, maybe something he hallucinated,
But he's
and
going
he's
to
trying
jail.
to snap himself out of it,
No,
but
he's
he
going
can't.
to jail because he killed Lily, man. On
Yeah, he
4K,
did.
well, maybe not 4K this time.
He killed Lily and put like literally all of his audience,
480p.
his guests, everybody in
Grave danger.
turmoil. Yeah.
So that was Late Night with the Devil. Let's just say some fun facts. There's an AI, art generated AI generated.
let me-
There's 3 still images in the film that were used as like the title blocks in between the commercials and stuff. And they were generated by AI to give the film 70s aesthetic. And people are mad. So
See this? Well, first of all, the AI generated art that they used were like a still of a skeleton, a few things that pulled the actual show together. So almost like how you, maybe not everyone has seen this, but if you've ever watched an older sort of TV show, they have some still images in between that they kind of cut to, and it had sort of the 70s aesthetic, which I guess they couldn't get. They could have got if they hired someone to actually design it, but the whole controversy was that
Didn't
they're
boost the
outsourcing
economy.
the work to. It's fine. They're outsourcing the work to AI instead of actually getting someone to do it. However, I don't see the issue with it just because it does not play a direct role in the film's ending. I mean, if they used AI to generate some of the scenes of like the possession or maybe like the bolt of electricity, then would that also be controversial? And where does that come into play with things like CGI, where we already have computer generated images used in movies frequently? I mean, come
I guess
on
you still
now.
need people to make that, maybe.
But it's still computer generated.
Yeah, it's not like drawing that out or
Yeah.
doing like frame by frame, which would take so long, but yeah. So that was the controversy, that they could have used real people.
Two more things. The grove is actually seemingly inspired by the real life Bohemian Grove in Monte Rio, California. I'm not sure how closely that one is tied to satanic rituals or demons. And Carmichael is actually also based off of a real life psychic debunker named James Randi. He actually started an institute that offered a reward to anyone who could reproduce any sort of paranormal phenomena or powers in controlled environments. Similar to Carmichael, which we might not have mentioned, he also offered a large sum of money, like we said, a reward. And in the decades of that show's existence, no one has ever won the money. So, yeah.
Ghost ain't real.
Skeptics.
Praise Jesus. Review time. A lot of people made it. The freaking
took like 10 minutes for the
intro,
movie to
yeah,
start.
where they do all the production people. I was like, oh my gosh, is this ever gonna end? It was like 5 minutes long, but it was a very well made movie, I'll say that. It didn't have a lot of plot holes that I could see, if any, and it kind of went by pretty good too. It was good they did like a show theme. During like the breaks, you would see like the real side of all these people, and during like the show you see what type of clout tactics they're doing to get more viewers. So it was pretty cool. I liked the whole concept they did. I thought the ending could have just been a little, it was flashy, but it could have been, you know, like
It could have hit home a little harder.
So out of 10, I'm gonna give this boy a 7. It's a pretty solid horror movie.
I would probably also give this one a 7.5 or an 8. Like you said, I liked it. I think it was really well done. There was no plot holes that I understood. Everything, the storyline was pretty well done. I liked the aesthetic of the show. I liked the fact that they actually had segments and different characters and different guests. It made it pretty interesting. It broke up the movie a little bit, because I know a lot in horror movies you see a lot of build up, and then there's a climax, and then nothing much really happens in the in between the climax and the ending of the movie. But I would say this one, it kind of kept you on your toes. I mean, you knew that Jack Delroy obviously was doing something shady since the beginning, but you just never knew where it was going next. You didn't really know who, like, you know, you didn't know if Lily was actually possessed. You didn't know if it was a hoax. It was pretty elaborate. It was cool, and they had some cool graphics. I really liked how Lily's head split open like that. I didn't see that in a movie yet, so.
And that was not artificially generated.
No, that was actually done, as far as we know. Film concluded.
And that's what you call film concluded.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Subscribe and like. Bye, V's.
Thank you.